Middlemen session where
Middleman.
Hello there. It is another Middlemen session where we don't just talk, we probe. In a country where silence is survival and questions feel like rebellion, we dare to ask anyway. We dig beneath the headlines, strip away the slogans, and confront the chaos we have all learned to live with. Our jurors are ever ready to speak truth to power with their punchy cases. Juror Harry Webike exposes how real estate companies are scamming unsuspecting Nigerians by selling promises instead of properties. His case titled Real Estate Fraud and the Silence of Regulatory Authorities calls for a serious reform and a system that protects buyers. Juror Olajumoke Alaode James reflects on how Nigerians react to President Buhari's passing in a case titled Rest President Buhari. The case highlights the pain many still feel over his time in office, from injustice to broken promises, and questions a culture that asks us to stay silent even in truth. Juror Emeka Madunago challenges the rising belief among young Nigerians that education is a waste, arguing instead for its enduring value in a world obsessed with fast success. His case is titled School is Not a Scam. And I, Juror Evans Ufeli, uncovers the deep roots of police brutality, corruption, and the disturbing silence from Delta State leaders. My case focused on the sick Ndokwa protester held in custody, denied medical attention and basic dignity. My case is titled The Injustice Faced by Stanley Ado. These cases and more will be in right after this quick break. This is still the Middlemen, and we'll bring you, and we'll be back later.
Middleman. Middleman. Middleman.
My case. Thanks for staying tuned. The injustice faced by Stanley Ado. The unlawful detention of Stanley Ado of the Light Up Ndokwa protest has thrown a glaring spotlight on the alarming issue of police brutality and negligence in Nigeria, particularly within Delta State region. As every citizen has the inherent right to life, liberty, and security, the Nigerian police force must be held accountable for their actions or lack thereof in protecting these basic rights. The refusal of the police to provide medical assistance or grant access to treatment is not just an affront to one individual. It is an indictment of the entire law enforcement system meant to serve and protect the populace. On July 16, 2025, Stanley Ado took ill, a situation that should have prompted immediate medical intervention, especially given that he was in police custody. However, the police opted to ignore his deteriorating condition while asking us for a 200,000 naira bribe to attend to him. This corruptive negligence highlights a fundamental problem: the prevalent disregard for human life and dignity, particularly among those who have fallen into the hands of the law enforcement agency, is unassailable. Police force appear to be more concerned with criminality and maintaining useless authority rather than fulfilling their primary duty to ensure that the safety and well-being of every citizen, regardless of their status or situation. Moreover, it is alarming to witness the silence and inaction from the leadership of Delta State government, the Governor Sheriff Oboruwere and the Deputy Governor, Sir Monday Onyema. Their role entails overseeing the operations of law enforcement within their jurisdiction. And their lack of intervention in this matter raises serious questions about their commitment to justice and human rights. The indifference of state leadership to the plight of ordinary citizens speaks volume about the systemic failure that plagued Nigeria's governance and justice system. The promise made under God to uphold police accountability for any harm that befall Stanley Ado is not merely an emotional response. It is a declaration of resolve by the Ndokwa community. We are tired of sitting idly while our rights are violated, while our voices are silenced, and while our loved ones suffer. The time has come for the community to stand united and demand accountability, not just for Stanley, but for every individual who has been wronged by the criminal justice system. Let the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetoku, recognize the gravity of this situation and take immediate action. His leadership is vital in the restoration of faith in our police force that has increasingly become synonymous with brutality rather than protection. To the Commissioner of Police in Delta State, CP Aboniwonda Olufemi, your role is crucial in defining the relationship between law enforcement agencies and the citizens they serve. It is time that the police be made to adhere to protocols that prioritize the ethical treatment of detainees, starting with the provisions of medical care. The community of Ndokwa deserve justice. We deserve a police force that operates with integrity and without bias. It is imperative that our leaders heed to this call for the sake of justice. Otherwise, we risk diminishing the value of human life and dignity, which are supposed to be the cornerstone of our society. We owe it to Stanley Ado and every citizen suffering in silence to push back against the systemic failure. Your silence is complicity. Your inaction is a betrayal. Let us rise together in the pursuit of justice, accountability, and a better society. Ndokwaba Mama, I shall go to Rabbi again.
Ndokwa Mama.
Ndokwaba Mama, that is, let Ndokwa be great, or let Ndokwa be good.
It's a perennial issue, actually, and this speaks to the issue of moral disengagement. That is when those in authority detach ethical feelings just to promote their violent traits. That's what we've seen with our Nigerian police force. And apart from that, we have issues like desensitization, where they totally remove their emotions, just to promote the violent acts that they give to people. So this is not a new thing coming from the Nigerian police. It's been there for quite some time. I guess what we should rather be talking about here is how can we, if possible, retrain our Nigerian police force? Because the truth remains, it's not like they don't know how to treat people that are within their confines. They understand how to do that. But the problem is because of the institutionalized violence that we have, you see them becoming part of the rot that we try to, if possible, reduce. I do not know how we can solve this holistically because it's been there for quite some time. And I do not know.
Without trying to malign the Nigerian police, whoever named them the Nigeria Police Force, putting force in their name, knew that they were established as a as a system for the oligarchs to hold on to power, right? They will never treat a Dangote, even if he commits a crime, like the way this gentleman has been treated, But the politicians like the Nigerian police force like that, that's why they will use them as escorts. Have 4 or 5 of them, go everywhere with them. If there is a threat or of attack on them, they want them like that. What we need to do, because government after government, we've spoken about reforming them. In 2020, we went all out, saying, you must end SARS, end Nigerian police force, end this, end that. They changed their name from SARS to SWAT. Nothing changed. It is still the same mentality. What we need, I think, is to leave them to be escorting politicians the way they are and create community policing, right? Where each community, is in charge of getting its own vigilante groups and things like that. Have them maybe trained by the military or paramilitary. Have them be able to carry small arms, maybe, I don't know. But because, by the time you start to put arms into the hands of different people in different communities, But again, if you don't know what the next person is carrying, you'll be cautious when you approach them. But I think that community policing is the way to go, where we're all of us have estates where we hire security guards to man our gates because we do not trust the police force to be available when there's serious crime. But let me just have 200,000 naira like they've asked them for and accuse him wrongly now. They will come and carry him first, detain him, torture him to the extent he will confess to what he didn't even do. I was seeing that happen over and over and over. That's why when we pray the prayer, may Nigeria not happen to you, it's because of situations like this.
But don't you think at the same time, even as we speak to Nigeria as reference, if you go to Kenya, it's still the same issue, right? The police brutality. Just the last concluded a protest that they did. About 10 people were killed. Larry Amado, the CNN reporter in Africa, he was in Nigeria, in Enugu, when he learned that the police force had warned that he should not come back to Kenya. So he didn't even make it to Kenya as at the time they held the protest there because he was scared he was going to be arrested. So I do not know, is it an African thing?
Well, there's police brutality in the US, and again, it's usually targeted at the blacks because they profile the blacks, that they're the ones who commit a lot of the crimes. You find a black man even in Europe, you are also profiled, Maybe it's only in the UAE that you see that their police are very friendly. They're more willing to help you. Their arms are concealed, Again, Africans have started showing our faces in the UAE to the extent they're banning Nigerians from age 45 and under, don't even come at all. And you must have trillions in your account and things like that. So the point is, there's police brutality all over the world. But where there are no consequences, right? In Nigeria, there's hardly any consequence for you to... The Nigerian police will say to you that I will kill you and nothing will happen. Most times nothing does happen.
Yes.
In all over the world where there's police brutality, you can file a case and, the person is, maybe punished if found guilty. Some of them will go scot-free because of
damages.
Yes, so our policemen keep disappointing us. This case falls under the heat of passion for me because I was directly involved in this whole thing where they were asking for money, and we beckoned on them, 2 lawyers. We had to fight them to the point where we argued up to the CP's office. okay, and they back down and apologize. But what is important is the intent, the initial intent to extort a man that is in detention to start with, who did not commit any offense, who fell ill in detention. By the laws of this country, if you are under police custody or under any of the law enforcement custody, when you are ill, they are supposed to provide you with medication. When you are hungry, they are supposed to provide you with food. How be it the quality of the food does not matter right now. It is their responsibility once you are under their custody
held you
to provide all you need to stay alive.
Yes.
You understand? That is why the prison authority had to budget so much money for food, toiletries, all those things to take care of in me. Because the moment you are called a suspect, or the moment you are taken into custody and you lose your right to movement and some other rights, you understand? The state now owns you, and the state is supposed to take care of your welfare. That is the law. Whether the state is underfunding the police or they are underfunding, that's not your business. That they are underfunding does not mean you should die.
Very true.
Yeah, they should provide these things, and we made them to understand that they must provide all those things. So when they put up resistance, we heighten the situation, and we have to land somewhere.
How is the gentleman doing? Hope he's in high spirits.
Yes, he's doing well, knowing that his people are behind him. Of course, he did not commit any offense. But the problem is that the state government, because they don't have any case, they are rigmaroling. First, you say that you are charging him for conspiracy. Can a man conspire against himself? Because he's alone, he's the only one. I mean, you say he destroyed railway. There's no railway in Kwale.
Yeah, well.
There's no railway in Kwale. You say he committed malicious damage of property and whatever it is. The police were the ones who came there and introduced violence into the protest and the rest of that. So the charge is a complete sham. And that is why they are moving from one court to the other. It's
very reminiscent of Nigerian police to do things like, as you are mentioning all the situation in this case, it's just reminding me of El Zagzaki. They blocked the highway, they touched the chief of army staff in his chest, the public disturbance, they murdered somebody, and then they held him for years. The court kept on saying, release him on bail. He's ill, he needs to attend to his health care. They held from 2015 December to 2021 August. He was going back and forth with the courts.
Back and forth. So
almost the entire length of Buhari's tenure, 8 years.
And they will tell you that Buhari didn't know
that he did the work. That is the conversation I had in one of the teams when we were analyzing Buhari, and I said
don't worry, we will still analyze Buhari today.
That he broke laws and all that.
Yes, he was a military man, and his training was not democratic in any way.
Yes, so the police should save us this thing.
Or is it possible that because the police have served for too long under military dictators, they've become, rather than being the democratic way, of maintaining law and order, they have become an institution of forcing people to
a threat to democracy.
Yeah.
The police have been there with their wickedness before the army was even started. The police started in 1930. The army started 30 years after, 1960. You understand? So the police already had their own, they were formed already.
No, but you remember that the colonial police force, right?
Yeah, that's the police force.
They were used against their brothers, if you remember. Which is why I'm saying that the person who named them Nigeria Police Force knew what they wanted to use them for. It was against the people.
But that we've come a long way from that.
Yeah.
And to imagine that Showore is protesting for them.
All of us in NSAS protest, were we not protesting for them?
But interestingly, Canada now has said, the Canadian courts, they've thrown out 3 cases by 3 Nigerian police officers asking for asylum.
For where?
They describe the police in very uncharitable terms.
Yeah.
But they won't learn, and that is the sad thing.
It's been institutionalized for them to be wicked, to be honest. Except you are willing to pay before they play ball.
Okay, we'll go on a short break, and when we return, Henry Igwebuike's case titled Real Estate Fraud and the Silence of Regulatory Authorities. We'll be coming right up. Stay tuned for more to come.
Middlemen.
Thank you for staying tuned. My case, real estate fraud and the silence of regulatory authorities. Now, let me start with the mannerism of Scott Nguma. P1 Real Estate Company, the real estate company that sells receipt instead of land. It is now an anthem that has become the cockcrow at dawn cautionary warning for newbie real estate investors in Nigeria. I know you would love to get the full gist, isn't it? Now, let's get to it. In a country already grappling with mistrust in governance and the rising economic hardship, the exposure of alleged fraudulent real estate practices by companies like P1 and others is a harsh reminder of how the dream of home ownership is being turned into a nightmare, particularly for Nigerians in the diaspora. Social commentator Scott Nguma's recent expose revealed how developers use emotionally manipulative marketing, often cloaked in motivational speaking and spiritual appeal, to lure unsuspecting buyers into dubious land schemes. The so-called developers promise instant allocation, government-approved plots, and a state of the future, only for many to discover that they have paid for farmlands, unregistered parcels, or non-existent properties. Worse still, these schemes are not hidden. Billboards, radio ads, social media campaigns, and glossy real estate expos abroad proudly push these offers, yet the government remains disturbingly quiet. Agencies like the EFCC, ICPC, and the Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria, REDAN, have offered little to no proactive oversight. Even with countless complaints, legal actions are rare, and the victims are left to either write off their losses or engage in lengthy, often futile litigations. Nigerians abroad who had hoped to build homes back home now view the country as an investment graveyard, thanks to a system that rewards fraud and punishes trust. The silence of the government is not just complicity, it is endorsement. Now, my verdict. We call for immediate reforms, enforceable regulations, a national real estate fraud tribunal, and proper licensing and auditing of developers, and criminal penalties for deceptive marketing. The credibility of Nigeria's investment climate and the hopes of many of its citizens depend on this.
Yeah, very interesting. But not to counter what you said, I know I can give kudos to the FCCPC, the Federal Consumer Complaints and Protection Commission. Yes, and then I think there's also a case, such fraudulent investment, which the EFCC has successfully concluded. They seized land across from the Federal Capital Territory to Nasarawa State to different places, seized filling stations and all of that, And of course, they say they're going to refund the subscribers. So the FCCPC has also tried, because I have had a case with, one of the affiliates of P1. Interestingly, I'm even a P1 business operator. Yes, but but of course,
is it network marketing?
Well, the way it is this. People just go register with them. So that if they are selling any scheme, you can advertise it. You can advertise. You can also invest. Of course, we are as a real estate marketers and developers. We look for opportunities here and there. But I think basically it has to do with the fact that managing expectations is a problem of these real estate companies. The investment climate in Nigeria doesn't encourage trust, and that is where the problem is. There are a lot of people who are willing to bring out money, but like the prologue said, see, they use juicy offers and all that. But when people like us go in the honesty of our hearts, to market these things, people look at us. We are not driving a Rolls Royce, or we are not coming in flowery, apparel, and so they don't want to listen. And the thing is this: so many of the real estate companies, they will get land. They know in that land they have 100 plots, but they will now market and get money from 200 subscribers. Then some of these schemes, they will not fence them. They will not fence them. So the people who sold to them also have some dubious schemes. So they will go behind, you know, and start selling some of the plots. Before you know what's happening, those who are sharp, because what I usually tell people, if I'm going to help you get land, you have to show me the money with which we will start work immediately. If we are paying on Monday, and I'm giving you receipt on Monday, by Wednesday, I'm moving my team to go and start something. We're going to put something there. Possession is actually a major factor in land acquisition. But you know, some of these real estate companies will tell you land banking, bank land. But they won't tell you to keep money for police, for agbero, for thugs, for juju, for if possible.
African insurance.
They won't tell you to keep money for all those things. So, you know.
But you see, the real estate companies, they are supposed to take care of all these things you just mentioned.
Thank you.
Because they tell you about a global CFO. They tell you about the fact that you don't need to go and be interfacing with your money. That is the advantage of actually buying from. That's why most people abroad prefer to buy from them. But at the end of the day, it appears like where they have this major problem is the issue of oversubscription.
Yes.
They open it up, but even when they know that the plot of land is filled up, they should end, you know, subscription. They will continue. They will later they will not tell you that they have
seeing this
they have
money.
Nigerians in the diaspora now.
They'll tell you they have a phase 2 of that estate. Then later they will not be looking for land in that area that they are going. That phase 2 is an afterthought. It's because money is coming in. They don't want it to stop. They don't want money to stop coming in. So they're not going to be looking for how to scramble and get a phase 2 that is not realistic, that does not exist, and all that. That's where they run into trouble. Because when the people now want, at the end of the day, like what's called, they used to sell receipts. That P1 is selling receipts instead of selling properties. You understand? They started very well, okay? Because I did a case sometime in 2015. I did a case sometime in 2015. They were at Lekki area then. And when I got to Asaba, I just saw them everywhere. I said, these people are here again. They sold land.
They made a killing in Asaba.
Yeah, they did what do you call it? No land at the end of the day, no CFO. Everything promised, nothing. You just give somebody deed of assignment, or you give them.
What are government agencies doing about them?
You give them a contract of sale, and at the end of the day, nothing comes out from it. So I think, like you said, that it's a society that punishes trust.
Yes.
Punishes trust and reward deceit and all that. So it's good that someone is calling them out. Because that's the good thing about civil society, even if it's an individual, an activist or whatever. Every society must have that. And you always have
shadow government.
Activists, yes. That was someone someone that always, even in spiritual things, even in the days of old. Yes, John the Baptist went and woke people up that they should repent. When the government came on him that he cannot be disturbing people, he left them and went to eating locusts and
they came to him from there.
Yeah, you always have. Society must always produce people who will see wrong.
And call it out.
Yes, no matter how decayed that site is, they will stick to that movement and make sure that things happen. That's exactly what's happening. From here, we can start the conversation.
Very true.
It's very sad, really, seeing things like that, because it should not happen. You see some places in Lagos, like in Lagos, being a participant in the industry, I know that these places are agricultural farmlands, and they are sea of what is not just 5 years. But they won't tell people. You mention farmlands. If you even give me sell land to me, farmland, I would like it too, because of course what it means.
No, they don't even give CFO for rural areas. The local government.
No, but these days some state governments have developed that they've started pushing CFO. It's supposed to be it's supposed to be right of occupancy. But for instance, like a state like Anambra, you won't see right of occupancy. Okay, they will just tell you go for CFO.
The state government have usurped the authority of the local government.
That is it. And that is part of when we talk about local government reform. you know, because we don't really engage in debates in Nigeria. We're always in a hurry. So local government will tell you, they cannot get revenue and all that. Whereas, right of occupancy, for the living and for the dead. Yes.
They are supposed to collect that revenue.
If you are burying somebody, you're supposed to pay. You know, because you are buying land from the local government. Even if it's in your compound, you are buying land from the local government, you're supposed to pay for that space. That's 6 by 6. If you are buying land for the living, you're supposed to pay and get right of occupancy.
So you will not allow the dead to rest in.
So in the US, once you are in, you pay that levy, because as a diaspora, as a what do you call it, as a foreigner, nobody knows what will happen to you. You can die there, and if you die, who's going to bury or who's going to take care of the bills? That's why you keep paying that insurance.
Yeah,
and it's compulsory. You pay it, and when you Middlemen.
Welcome to the Middlemen, where we journey through facts and feelings, weighing truth against perception and crafting judgments that equal with fairness. My fellow jurors are here with their cases, truthful and factual. Juror Henry Igwebike will be questioning the leadership of the Tinubu-led administration in his case titled 7-Year Ban on Creation of New Universities, Hypocrisy of Leaders with No Skin in the Game. Juror Emeka Madnagu will be examining the altercations in 2 Nigerian airports in his case titled KWAM 1, KWAM 2, Action Court. Juror Evans Ufeli will be examining the nation's rising tide of public frustration and weighing whether this fury is a threat to peace or a spark for change, in his case titled The Harvest of Anger in Nigeria. While I, Juror Olajumoke Alaode James, will be examining high-profile EFCC cases in Nigeria and the new definition of corruption in my case titled He's Stealing Still Corruption in Nigeria. All these wonderful cases when we return. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Thanks for still being here on Enterprise TV Live on YouTube. My case is stealing still corruption in Nigeria. On Monday, the 11th of August 2025, a 60 billion naira fraud case against former managing director of the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON, Ahmed Kuru, was struck out following the federal government's decision to withdraw the charges. The withdrawal was effected through the Director of Public Prosecutions of the Federation, M.B. Abubakar, who filed a notice of discontinuance dated July 24, 2025. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, had on February 11, 2025, arraigned Kuru on amended 6 counts charges, bordering on conspiracy, stealing, and transfer of property derived from an illegal act. He pleaded not guilty. Kuru was charged alongside Sigma Gulf Nigeria Limited. On the day of arraignment, Sigma Gulf entered a guilty plea pursuant to a plea bargain with the EFCC and was convicted. The EFCC accused Kuru, alongside the former managing director of Heritage Bank, Ifie Sekibo, now at large, of dishonestly converting 20 billion naira of AMCON funds and transferring another 20 billion naira derived from theft to conceal its source. Although the matter was slated for trial, proceedings never commenced before the prosecution, that's the federal government, sought to terminate the case. The court ordered the discharge of the bond entered on Kuru's behalf, the release of his shorties, and the lifting of the Nigerian Immigration Service restriction on his passport. His travel documents were ordered to be returned. Justice Rahman Oshudi of the Lagos State Special Offences and Domestic Violence Court, Ikeja, said, and I quote, "It is well established in criminal jurisprudence that the prosecution possesses the prerogative to withdraw from the prosecution of any matter at any stage of the proceedings. The federal government needs to explain to us why the charges were withdrawn. We demand accountability. Did they find evidence to prove Kuru's innocence? Remember how the EFCC never won any of their cases in court when Festus Keyamo was their prosecuting lawyer. It's a waste of public funds to keep going to courts, withdrawing charges, abandoning cases, or they're eventually struck out for lack of adequate prosecution. Here's my verdict. There have been high-profile fraud cases against many former governors, a lot of them currently in the Senate, including the Senate President, which were undecided. 33 former governors have been indicted by the EFCC on corruption charges, but only 6 of them were ever convicted. They are 1. Joshua Dare of Plateau State, and 2. Jolly Nyame of Taraba State. After 8 and 11 years consecutively in trial, both were sentenced to 14 years imprisonment in 2018, but were pardoned by President Buhari within 4 years of their confinement. Jolly Nyame had appealed his case and his imprisonment reduced to 12 years. He went to the Supreme Court in 2020 and the Supreme Court upheld the ruling of the appeal court for him to spend 12 years in prison. However, he was pardoned in 2022. 3. Lucky Igbinedion, Edo State, sentenced to 6 months imprisonment with the option of 3.5 million naira fine. Never stepped into prison. 4. James Ibori, Delta State. He was accused by the then EFCC chairman Nuru Ribadu of bribery, was acquitted in Nigeria, but was eventually convicted and sentenced to 13 years imprisonment by a London court. He was released after spending a few years in prison. 5. Diprie Alamesia, Bayelsa State, escaped arraignment in London, was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment in Nigeria and released 2 hours after his conviction because he had spent 2 years in trial already. He was eventually pardoned by President Jonathan, who had been his deputy governor and then successor as governor. President Jonathan was the one who made the now famous statement that stealing is not corruption. 6, and the final one, Orji Kalu, Abia State, sentenced to 12 years in prison in 2019. In 2020, the Supreme Court nullified his conviction and he's presently in Nigeria's Senate. Several other high-profile cases of fraud, like those of former Governor of Ekiti State, Ayo Fayoshi, whose case was dismissed this year, former Kogi State Governor Yaya Bello, who even resisted arrest, and former Sokoto State Governor and former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Aminu Tambuwal, who was arrested and granted bail just this week, has left Nigerians distrustful of the EFCC. They're being accused of being used as political persecutions. With the EFCC now busy breaking down hotel room doors, looking for Yahoo boys, the answer to the question, is stealing still corruption, is left to the imagination.
Stealing is corruption.
Are you sure?
No matter what, no matter how President Goodluck Jonathan and his cohorts try to paint it. What is corruption? If you look at the dictionary meaning of corruption, corruption simply means illegal behavior. So it doesn't have to be you stealing money. When they ask you to come to work by 9 and you come to work in the afternoon, it's corruption. When you are supposed to be at a particular point for appointment and you go there late, it's corruption. So cumulatively, these are the things that militate against the growth of a nation. But I will tell you the factors that are responsible for withdrawal of cases, take over and discontinue of cases, and
Abandonment.
the issues surrounding
Abandonment.
That was another thing she mentioned.
there is no abandonment of case under our law. I'm looking at the legal.
Yes, we're listening to you.
Yeah, the legal possibilities. Now, for the case of Igbenedion did what we call plea bargain.
Yeah.
Now, when you do a plea bargain, you do not need to go to prison any longer.
You just forfeit.
But you will be convicted.
Oh.
You don't forfeit. You will be convicted.
Okay.
Then you return funds.
Oh.
Yes, so there's a way they do it. So they will enter into an agreement. That practice came from America, wherein someone had, used either unlawful means or fraudulent means to defraud someone and all that, and he's remorseful. First, you must show remorse. Two, you must say the truth. That though you took these funds, they are somewhere. You have used this particular amount, and you want to
return the rest.
Return this to the person, and then they will strike an agreement. But you cannot escape conviction. Okay. So they will convict, and it will be on record that the person is convicted.
Hence, Igbenedion was convicted.
Yes, he was convicted until there's a pardon somewhere. So people go about that to get pardon when they're in such situation. That's one. Two, the Attorney General of the Federation, under Section 745 of the 1999 Constitution, 175 of the 1999 Constitution, have the power under the law to discontinue or take over criminal proceedings.
Attorney General, huh?
Now that power, the second B part of the section says that such power must be exercised judiciously and judicially. Okay, that is to say that, like the case of this young girl now that the airline girl now that was
struck out.
Yeah, they have to. Is the Attorney General that will go and initiate the process. Okay. And then it will do a takeover or discontinuance. In this case, it's a discontinuance. You remember last year, those children that were carrying Russian flags were all arraigned before the court. The President Tinubu, gave an order that they should release all those children. But the fact that the President have said does not mean you just release them.
Yes, now.
You don't. The President, Attorney General, will now go and file for discontinuance and go through the legal processes and have that case to discontinue. The same thing happened to this girl. So that is the means for which you just discontinue cases. Then prosecution. A prosecutor, can have a one-on-one settlement out of court with a defendant. And if the court is satisfied with such settlement, yes, the prosecution will be asked to go and file what we call a case for discontinuance. We'll file a process to discontinue, yes. Yeah, it's also allowed. You file a case to discontinue the proceeding, given that they have come to an agreement as to, and everybody is
if I may pause you here
with that agreement,
because it seems like this third example that you have cited is what has happened to the former MD of AMCON.
Yes.
But
because
if they convicted the person that was
the company. The
person that was filed with him, that one has run away.
Yes,
the company that was also prosecuted with him on the day of arraignment, they said, "Oh yes, we are guilty."
They pleaded guilty.
They
were convicted
and paid their. I think they paid some fine or something. So now, if that's what has happened with him, because they started this case in February, they need to give us what they call. They must tell us.
Yeah, you see,
they have to tell us. If not, someone like Jumoke will just assume that money has exchanged hands.
Let me tell you,
and that's why they're filing this discontinuance.
No. Let me tell you how people get to know. First, we have law reports.
Okay.
That after every case is exhausted,
yes,
the law report. But the public, we are
not interested.
They are fixated with survivor who want to read law report. So law report is tedious. So, and then if you are also a follower. If you are a keen follower of the case,
yes,
like maybe you are attending court sitting and maybe you are following the journalist that is reporting
Yes.
every, so you will know.
You will know.
You will know. It's not every time that money has changed hand that they are discontinuing a case. I'm just telling you.
So me, I know that there's discontinuance for this case now,
Yes.
but I do not know the reason why.
Yeah, the reason.
Pressure?
Yeah, there are political pressure because that one plays a very fundamental role, witch hunting. We can see what is happening to Tamboa as we speak now.
Yes.
And then not just Tamboa, even when what's his name, Ribadu was the chairman of EFCC.
Yes.
The accusation that was on the lips of everyone was that he's doing fine, but most times he's being used to witch hunt other persons. Now, how come that it's only when you have opposition that he's being deployed?
It's only opposition that they ever arrange.
So
they never arrange their party people.
You can't really wipe out that because, see, the judiciary is populated by human beings.
True, very true. So there's obvious bias.
Then you're always going to have influence and all that. So, and it happens.
No, but you see, the way the anti-corruption war, is being fought in Nigeria, leaves so much to be desired.
Very well, I agree.
Because you see the EFCC keeps changing charges, amending charges. Then look at what happened in Dasuki's case. A case that lasted for 10 years.
Exactly.
And I think it's in violation of the SCJA.
Yeah.
And the judge now told the federal government, please conclude your prosecution and close your case.
You know why they amend charges? Sometimes, you see, by the time they charge these persons, the institution is still investigating the matter. You understand? At the earliest form, when they arraign the person and they bring that charge, when they deepen investigation, they find out that with these charges we have, a smart defense counsel will knock off all these things. It's not weighty. It doesn't have. So when they have discovered more documents, they've discovered more dimensions, more perspective in the same case, there will be a need to amend. And you can always amend, and you can amend 6 times.
Wow.
That's allowed by law. You understand? So if they have not exhausted that, they will keep amending until they're able to. And at every amendment, they will rearrange the person, take his plea again.
The Nigerian justice
system. But a case that has federal implications, why take it before a court?
A domestic
in Lagos.
violence court.
Was there any intention to
that particular
thoroughly prosecute the case?
That is a special offences court.
But these special offences usually sexual assault
No,
and
not just sexual assault. Money laundering. They have jurisdiction, and the jurisdiction is special.
because I remember this Justice Oshodi. She was the
But
one
is it at the
No, not
same
sure.
level?
It's a
But is it at the same level?
Convicted
with
a pastor
federal
last
high
year.
court?
Yes, see, when they say special offense, it doesn't only mean it has to do with laws of domestic relations,
Okay.
rape and all that. No, it also includes money laundering, fraud, obtained by false pretense. They are all special offences court. So that is designated to deal with matters of those natures.
Well, for me, as much as we would love to mirror everything and look through the lens of, the legal statute and all, I would love to look at it from the effect on the society itself, and do juxtapositions on other nations and how they have fared. China, like we know, is a communist state, and there used to be a man called Boyzilla. He is a member of the Communist Party. In 2013, he was alleged to have bribed, and just for bribery, he was sentenced for life.
Yes.
Until today, he is still incarcerated.
He's even lucky that I was not killed.
So this is just to show you how lopsided our system is. And this is not just today. It's been there for a very long time. From 1914, when Nigeria was still in its infancy. We had our chiefs then that would gladly love to sell slaves that they felt were enemies or they didn't like their faces. They sell them for trade and all that. So if we take a look at historical, facts, from where it all started to where we are today, we can see how debased our society is. I was doing a comparison of President Tinubu's visit to Brazil, the third time in 9 months. And one would ask, Lula da Silva, why has he never thought of coming to Nigeria, the president of Brazil? In the 70s, Nigeria and Brazil used to be at par economically. Right? What Brazil did right was that they invested in industrialization, mass industrialization. At the same time, Nigeria experienced oil boom, more than enough money. So the question is, because of this sort of things that we see today, corruptions upon corruption, stealing, embezzlement, supported by, legal, so many things.
Brazil
is
not the first world country.
Brazil
is struggling.
Wait. Well, Nigeria and Brazil were both developing countries. Nigeria is now underdeveloped. And they are developing.
They are second world now.
Yes.
Second world countries.
Yeah, I agree.
They might not be first world.
When you started the comparison, I thought I was asking myself, which is Brazil?
We will go on the story. And when we return, Juror Eric Gwebike will present his case titled 7-Year Ban on the Creation of New Universities, Hypocrisy of Leaders with No Skin in the Game. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Middlemen. The highly anticipated book titled The Citizen Jones Selected Prologues is finally here.
This explosive new book takes you on a journey through the finest writing of the ace journalist and broadcaster that will leave you inspired and informed.
The Citizen Jones Selected Prologues of Volume 1 now available. Get your copy now.
For details, contact 0706 9637 935 or send an email to enterprisetv@gmail.com.
Citizen Jones Selected Prologues, a classical compendium of compelling arguments.
The punching of jurors. In the hallowed halls of justice, where echoes of truth intertwine with whispers of despair, there stands Jumoke Alawode James, a radiant figure sculpted by the universe, with a beauty akin to a stallion galloping through fields of reckoning. Clad in the armor of eloquence, her voice pierces the thick veil of complacency, unraveling cases that cradle the very essence of Nigeria's collective agony. She stands a sentinel over a nation laid bare, beckoning it to rise from the ashes of its own dissolution, crying out for a redemption that dances just beyond reach. Next emerges Evans Ufeli, a sage with a heart that beats in harmony with the rhythm of justice, an advocate driven by a fervent dream of egalitarian dawn. Each week, he unfolds a scroll of cases bestowed upon him by the wise rabbi, a craft woven with threads of profound thought and searing urgency. His lamentation for the plight of the people rises like a haunting melody, reverberating through a land where self-inflicted wounds twist the tendrils of allegiance into knots of a servitude, traded for nothing more than a pittance, a morsel of bread amidst the hunger of the soul. Then strides forth Emeka Madunago, a linguistic maestro, armed with knowledge as dense as the forest, each word a carefully sharpened arrow aimed at the heart of injustice. He ventures onto this hallowed platform armed with solutions. Thank you for staying tuned. This is still the Middlemen on Enterprise Television. My case, 7-year ban on the creation of new universities, hypocrisy of leaders with no skin in the game. The irony is stark. The same Bola Ahmed Tinubu led administration that previously encouraged the reckless establishment of universities as a political strategy is now imposing a 7-year moratorium on the creation of new tertiary institutions. This sudden shift reveals a contradiction in leadership priorities. While institutions were once used as a bait to secure votes, many of them remain underfunded, poorly managed, and lacking the capacity to deliver quality education. In the current economic climate marked by
harsh devaluation of the naira and shrinking purchasing power, access to education has become even more difficult for ordinary Nigerians. Many institutions are struggling to stay afloat, with sustainability becoming an uphill task. Additionally, it's no secret that some private universities have allegedly become laundering hubs for corrupt politicians, hidden behind the facade of education and run by proxy investors. Unless political leaders begin to prioritize the education system by enrolling their own children in Nigerian schools and universities, the credibility and development of the sector will remain questionable. My verdict: the ban is a needed correction, but it highlights deeper systemic failures. Without genuine reform and commitment to quality over political gains, Nigeria's educational sector will continue to flounder, regardless of how many or how few universities exist.
It's unfortunate that the ping pong, of our policies, the dilly-dallying of implementation of them also shows a lack of preparedness, by this government. We would have assumed that education will be top of their game, a priority. Because President Tinubu, when he was governor of Lagos State, he used to say that the youth that you do not train will disturb the children that you train.
It was Awolowo's quote.
He likes to...
Okay, lost to repeat.
he likes to copy Awolowo. So he used to quote it as governor.
Just like his character is antithetical.
But when you now see the character, you now wonder, wait, is this what Awolowo did? In just 4 years as governor, you saw how many schools Jakande built. But in 8 years of governorship, Governor Tinubu was renaming streets. That's all I remember him for.
They are still renaming roads.
That's all. In fact, if they were expanding the roads, we will say they were not. They were just blocking, ensuring that you cannot cross the streets anymore. They were just blocking the roads.
You remember then now?
When they say dualizing with expansion, his own was to now put lines and then put what they call dividers on the road, so you can't cross from one lane to the other. That's all he did in his 8 years. They say, he was laying the foundation for the magic that Fashola became. Anyway, the point I'm driving at with this ping-ponging policy is that no serious country will take you seriously when, you have a policy and we think that we can invest in it. Education all over the world is number one. Finland, I remember when the Finnish ambassador to Nigeria was inviting Nigerians, let's go, come. We have 100% literacy rate in Finland. No child is illiterate in Finland. And we will say, madam, this is your country, very cold. Would I really love to come out of school in your country? That's the pride of any nation, So if you are an undeveloped country or a developing country, you take education as a priority because that's your future, is your way out of poverty. It can be formal or informal. We are Ghana and Togo are exporting tilers and what they call the people who do concrete to Nigeria. So it doesn't even have to be that all your youth are doctors and lawyers. It can be vocational courses,
not white collar.
But our president came and started
he changed the national anthem first.
How many people sing that new national anthem? Then he said, they are going to create new universities in every region. Then all of a sudden by himself, he's now banning new. I don't understand. Is he confused? Who is the Minister of Education again?
Tunji Alausa, a nephrologist. You see, yesterday, a member of the House of Reps, Aki Alabi, he took to X immediately. The announcement was made. I was saying, thank God that most of the bills before the two chambers of the National Assembly are on creation of public institutions, tertiary institutions, and they're wondering. Everybody just wants one. The question is this: senators get 22 million every month.
Jesus.
Aside the allowances. Reps get 21 million. Why not, even though the Carlos said it's not enough. But if you know that you want a public institution in your area, then first of all make an endowment, make a donation of at least 5 billion naira. Then we know you are serious. You don't just, Nigeria is a place where people just throw up, things without putting their money where their mouths are. And that is why we have a situation where across 2 sessions from 2024 to 2026, 34 universities didn't have anybody applying to them. I think you had another 99 that didn't have up to 800 candidates. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that there are certain other things that these universities, private universities, even public universities are being set up for, different from imparting education. Because
there are more universities than students.
Well, the Minister of Education actually made a reference. He said there's a region in Nigeria, a federal university, that the number of employed people, the staffers, is about 1,200. Number of students in the school is 800. So it means that people who the government pay are more than the number of students in the school.
But the reason you have
how bad the situation is.
The reason you have this is because there is no clear-cut plan on education in Nigeria.
No policy.
What is the plan? When they say there was a time they were saying Vision 2020.
Oh.
I talked about it a few days ago. I said, should I swear for this people?
Because when we help for all by the year 2000.
Education for by the year 2000, yes.
When we got to the 2020,
COVID happened.
They were nowhere to be found.
COVID happened.
The same Vision 2020. Now look at a country that have no plan, a roadmap, a policy direction on education will do exactly what we are doing now.
Very true.
So we will not know what we are doing again.
We'll go up
at
and
the
go
beginning
down.
of administration, we will say we want to expand on education.
And then in the middle,
at the midpoint, we'll say we are putting a ban on it because there is no clear policy on education. And
very
education
true.
is actually the way out of the
of
the problem of this country.
Very true.
Because if you're able to reduce, I mean, we have 54% illiterate index. 54%. That is to say that there are more illiterates in Nigeria than literates.
And then 20.5 million out of school.
Yes. So I mean, any country,
the highest,
any country where you have
20.5 million. That's the population
of almost Ghana.
Any country where you have such deficits, where you are working against a minus. What it means is that you are not doing the right thing. What you are supposed to do is to ask the right questions, then walk from the question to the answer. This one, we're neither walking from question to answer.
You know, I cited the Finnish ambassador, and her name is very difficult for me to pronounce. Coming to Nigeria to say, oh yeah, Nigerians come. So what is Finland doing right? An extremely cold country. That Nigeria, the ambassador is begging us. So you can actually sit down with such an ambassador and say, well, so of course, you cannot compare the entire population to even Lagos. Right?
You're even going for Ghana.
It's very
Ghana.
Small population.
Ghana. Let's even talk about Ghana.
It's not just about the population. Whether the population is large or the population is small, after all, Equatorial Guinea is one of the smallest countries in the world. But it's one of the worst governed countries in the world. You have Cape Verde, you have Mauritius. Small countries that are well governed. You have Botswana, where you even have more cattle than human beings. Well governed, they even pay you to go to university. In Botswana, they pay you to go to university. So it's not about population size. It's not. It's about what is in the heads of the leaders. And the thing is this: for a developing country like Nigeria, we need more polytechnics, schools of nursing, schools of health technology. We need more institutions that will teach technical skills,
vocational academy,
than then when you finish, if you want to go and, if you want to go and read any other thing. Because for me, I haven't studied, a lot about billionaires, in the world business. And I look at it, I say, wait a minute. I was not thinking that, is it not better? You gain admission, get a first degree, whatever it is, and then go and do an MBA. Because an MBA will open your eyes
Very true.
Business and
to the business of anything.
Very true.
There is nothing, I was discussing with somebody the other day, we're talking about land, and I said that there's no property in the world that cannot be sold. I was not giving him an example. I said, since I'm into property, I was once giving, I've been giving churches to sell too.
you are selling churches.
There was a time, yes, sometime last year, a cemetery in Lagos was taken over by a bank, and it was put on for sale, a private cemetery. So that tells you that, look, this world is just a vast ocean of opportunities.
Very well.
But you need to tune your people in such a way that what they see are opportunities. They are not looking at the fact that,
They are not looking at their poverty.
at all. They are not looking at the fact that, I read law and I'm stuck with that. Because you know what, there is this lady, I forget her name. She has a shoe production business on Allen Avenue, and she read law. So she finished
how many lawyers are now theatre artists? Funke Akindele, Femi Falana, Funke Bokno doing events. They all read law.
It's not about having. We have more than enough universities. What we need are institutions that will use the hands
But I
of
think
our
that
youths
we forget how
and make them more creative.
I think we forget how we got here, because we had a dearth of universities. Was why we started creating private universities.
Not enough.
Federal. Jump. You can stay for 5 years.
Yes, writing jump.
Get admission. There's like a community.
There are 2 million students writing JAM, and universities cannot accommodate more than 200,000 of them.
Yes.
That's why we started creating private universities. But you have to know the population of students applying for JAM every year, and now can we cater to them such that your policy is geared towards, now we have enough universities, both public and private, to admit everyone who is applying and can pass.
I think we have enough now.
By the time you realize that, you now have to, your next step will now be to improve on your education. Because why are rich Nigerian students running abroad, including to Ghana? It's because the educational standard has dropped.
They are going to Cotonou.
Right?
Going to Cotonou and
They're not doing anything.
That Cotonou arrangement is not.
So you wonder,
because Nigerians just believe that. I know people.
Anywhere abroad is better than
I know
home.
people who took flights that they are going to Gambia to sit for greener pasture. Gambia. So we just believe that once we leave Nigeria, our life is getting better.
No, but Nigerians also everywhere.
In Brazil, we talk about there are Nigerians who are potters in the markets in Brazil.
Nigerians also
They are going
everywhere.
to Cotonou to learn.
No, but you see people who will leave their states and go to the north or the east to go and do taxi driver or some menial job.
I understand that.
So it's the same thing now. It's the same thing.
You are within your country. And there is something about attachment.
There is one
emotional attachment.
There is one school they built in Cotonou where people who could not get admission to study law here, they all ran to that place.
To go and be reading law.
If you see the way they were graduating them, they now came full Nigeria. They are coming to do by 1 and by 2 because they are foreign students, according to them.
They'll be saying law school now.
No, Nigerian law school now. See, they cannot even pass law school. But Nigerian law school have to look at you did not do jurisprudence and you want to go to law school. How are you going to do it? They say no, that the school that they went to, they did not offer it.
They did not offer jurisprudence and they went to read law.
Nigerian law school now say, go back to the school, tell them. See, because how are you going to? You can't pass it and you are supposed to do 2 years. Okay.
I think this whole issue actually stemmed from when we lost it, many years back. When we talk about Obafemi Awolowo giving free education, we used to think it was just primary schools. Then he equally created technical schools. He equally created colleges of education.
Yes.
Where people were taught how to teach.
There's also TC2.
Beautiful.
You remember?
Yes. So, but over time, we started discriminating on NAPTEP. That is the version of WAEC for technical schools. Yeah. So someone with NAPTEP is looked down on, like it's not the thing you go to school.
As head of state, who made NAPTEP, who elevated NAPTEP.
So we have to come to that level again, that realization that technical schools are very key and important. In fact, we need them more than
why it's very important, because technical school interrogate with your talent direct.
Yeah.
It just picks on who you are, the code of your creation.
Just funding of education.
It picks on it, and you are seeing exactly
what you should be doing at the right time.
That's why China is what they are today. You understand? But when you go to the general kind of school, you are talented and different. They are giving you so many things to read and read.
They jam you to another.
Many people are jammed to courses they don't
jam you to another course.
At the end of the day, you are not. Then when they get to university, they will not give you any course they like, and the rest of
you
that.
finish and you'll be looking and asking yourself, where are you?
You are neither here nor there. So we need to plan our educational system, really. Plan it and pattern it according to
and fund it appropriately.
Fund it appropriately. These lecturers, they are paying 100.
They are taxing us for education. No, they are not funding it appropriately.
They are not funding it. They are not funding
very, very true. And also, our politicians should allow their children, go to our schools. Remember the Labour Party advice that had the son graduate in another school overseas while he had the school here. All right, we'll take a short break, and when we return, Joe Emeka Madunagu will step in with a case titled KWAM 1, KWAM 2, Action Court. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned. Middlemen. Panacea for the ill of his compatriots. Emeka unyielding locks eyes with the elite, unflinching in his resolve as he speaks truth to power with the fervor of a modern-day prophet. He advocates for a class suicide, a radical act of severance from the vines of greed that choke the very life of Nigeria, prescribing this sacrificial rite as the only balm for the nation's festering wounds. Now, we bear witness to Innocent Aduluba, a custodian of integrity, where honesty flows like a river untainted. His edges of sacred truth is fortified by the solid foundation of reason, delivering a symphony of clarity that dances gracefully along the social-cultural spectrum. Innocent, an oracle of the common people, channels their pulse, imbibing the essence of their struggles and transforming them into the language of the streets. His enlightenment becomes a lantern, guiding those lost in the shadow, illuminating pathways once obscured as he breathes life into the collective consciousness. Henry Igwebike stands as a watchdog, a vigilant watcher of the tempest that permeates the fabric of Nigeria, a land once resplendent with the vibrancy of hope, now adrift in the murky waters of uncertainty. With a heart heavy, yet buoyed by fate, he ponders the fate of this great vessel, once sailed by the spirits of unity and promise, now battered by the storms of discord and strife. What port shall it find amidst the turmoil? Where does the compass of its destiny truly point? As waves of cynicism crash against its hull, as the sirens of turmoil sing lullabies of disillusion. In this pantheon of jurors, each voice rings out a chorus, weaving the fabric of a new Nigeria. Sit, relax, and enjoy the show. The Middlemen of Jurors. The pantheon of jurors. In the hallowed halls of justice, where echoes of truth intertwine with whispers of despair, there stands Jumoke Alawode James, a radiant figure sculpted by the universe, with a beauty akin to a stallion galloping through fields of reckoning. Clad in the armor of eloquence, her voice pierces the thick veil of complacency. unraveling cases that cradle the very essence of Nigeria's collective agony. She stands a sentinel over a nation laid bare, beckoning it to rise.
Thanks for staying with us. My case. KWAM 1, KWAM 2, action. Court. It's been a story. 2 weeks of KWAMs. Or how else do you explain the epic crashes at two of Nigeria's leading airports between Fuji Maestro, KWAM 1, Wasiu Ayinde, aka KWAM 1, and a 23-year-old flyer known as Miss Comfort Emerson Bob, and officials of Value Jet Airline and Ibom Air, respectively. For the purpose of this case, we shall call them KWAM 1 and KWAM 2. While KWAM 1 was allowed to go home freely with a pat on the back after blocking an aircraft from taxiing to take off, KWAM 2 was bundled to court and remanded in prison custody. Under 24 hours, she moved from customer to suspect. Interestingly, while KWAM 1 is Ijebu, like the owner of Value Jet, Comfort is from Akwa Ibom State, which owns Ibom Air. KWAM 1 was gently guided away from the jet by some male airline staff who almost got hit by the aircraft, while Comfort was made uncomfortable with her God-given assets in full view after a clash with female airline staffers. But public outcry arose after KWAM 2 was thrown into prison, whereas the same treatment was not meted to KWAM 1. The Nigerian police just woke up after a week to acknowledge receipt of a petition written against KWAM 1 by the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. Different strokes for different folks. The illegal president of NURTW, because he has been removed by the appeal court, MC Olomo, and chairman of NITCOM, Mrs. Abike Dabiri, shamelessly pleaded for KWAM 1 to be let off the hook after he issued a wishy-washy apology. The airline operators of Nigeria slammed a 6-month ban on KWAM 1 and wait for it, a lifetime ban on KWAM 2. Haba. Now that Aviation Minister Festus Keyamo has intervened and pardoned both KWAMs, where do we go from here? It's a notorious fact that airline personnel in Nigeria are generally rude and uncouth. Why did a female official of Ibom Air pull open the blouse of KWAM 2 as seen in one of the videos? According to the accounts of fellow Ibom Air passengers, KWAM 2 was triggered by a rude cabin crew staffer. Why did security have to drag KWAM 2? Were her rights read to her before she was bundled like a thief? What attempts were made to de-escalate the matter? Why did aviation security allow KWAM 1 to pass beyond the scanners with a flask in violation of existing regulations? Why was KWAM 1 made a cultural ambassador to promote airline safety and wait for it, potentially make money from a misdemeanor? Why nothing by way of rehabilitation was done for KWAM 2? She surely needs therapy and compensation. My verdict. Though the Minister of Aviation has promised to treat all aspects of both cases, a lot had been allowed to go wrong before his intervention in typical Nigerian fashion. Many questions are begging for answers. Both must be thoroughly investigated with necessary follow-up actions. The minister should act on his promise to ensure the retraining of aviation personnel. They harass passengers for tips, extort travelers, and commonly behave like thugs. An airport is an exclusive zone. People working in such an environment must be properly vetted and retrained regularly on how to handle customers. Passengers at other airport users too should exercise decorum at the gateway so that we can develop a safe flying culture. As I was concluding this piece, I came across a logo purportedly issued by the Cross River State-owned Cali Air. It was in a video too, in which it promised that women's natural assets are safe with them. How? Well, it kicked off a fierce online war between citizens of Cross River and Akwa Ibom states. Nigeria matter no dey finish.
I think I can answer some of the questions. I can answer some of the questions you raised in this case. Very, very important case. But I know the difference between KWAM 1 and KWAM 2. It is the Nigerian difference. In Nigeria, when you are privileged, when you are a celebrity, you do no wrong. Even when you commit offense, you will see the masses, the public, they will come and ensure that they shield you away from liability. Just because you are popular, you have money, you are a celebrity, or perhaps you know politicians. But if you are just an unknown person, one who is not popular, neither a celebrity nor whatever, they will put you under intense condition just like what happened. The offenses committed by both parties, as far as I'm concerned, that of KWAM 1
Is what?
is much more strenuous, much more a serious offense because
That's terrorism.
because it boils down to terrorism and
Yes, now.
obstruction of flight.
Stopping a plane from moving.
You understand? For which the penalty there is 2 years imprisonment,
Then.
and for which the criminal code condemns. You understand? But because he's a musician, the airport security men were pleading with him. They were begging him.
Yes.
And that he should take it easy. They are trying to know and all that. But this girl, the open glare of everyone, not only that the airline dealt with her, naked her, put her, she wanted to come out from the plane.
They didn't allow her.
And
then they now came to force her out.
Put her down again and all that. So it just tells you the inequalities in this country, the disparities. And at the end of the day, she landed at Kirikiri Prison.
For
You
24
understand?
hours.
Now, every institution that is supposed to deploy sense and reasoning all failed.
Very true.
You understand? They all failed to ensure that one citizen,
A customer.
a customer who is a member of the masses is thoroughly dealt with. Then, on the other hand, conversely, the institutions in KWAM 1 deploy the same tactics. They all also fail because they try to protect and shield KWAM 1. So in both cases, the institutions are all guilty. And then the minister's intervention, for me, is unfortunate. Yes, it's unfortunate because the airport authority from yesterday and today, yesterday, have lost the moral justification to punish any offender henceforth, forthwith. Because if anybody commits the same kind of offense in like manner and all that,
Yes, precedent.
there's a need. They will call on the minister to, come and, hand down clemency. The same way he did in the same token.
No, but he put a disclaimer in this is clemency.
So,
that anybody from now.
No, hold on. I'm just.
We will punish you well.
Hold on, because you see, the implication of what he has done is that he has opened the floodgate for the institutions not to be able to stand tall.
I agree.
When they're supposed to be responsible.
I agree.
You understand?
I agree.
We have standing rules and laws in this country. Anyone who violates those laws should, the law should be applied against them, whether you are big, young, old, or small. You understand? Even when you go to the comment section on the internet and all that, to look at what people are saying, you will see how a lot of people have exonerated KWAM 1. Because the masses, they are their own problem. You understand? How they exonerated him and all that, it's not alcohol, it's water. They reduce the offense for him. But this young girl, a lot of people
on which app? It must be Instagram or TikTok.
No,
it can't be on X.
No, Facebook.
When you see what I'm saying.
Facebook,
they are our grandmothers now.
Then on the issue, on the part of the young girl, people were rather focused on her endowment
how she's dressed
rather than her misfortune. Yeah. So it's the society that is a complex one.
So let us quickly delve into the issues in both cases, KWAM 1, KWAM 2. I have not seen anybody exonerate KWAM 1, actually, which is why Abike Dabiri had to come and say to her is human. And then we went for her also. That, madam, you have failed at your duty.
She's always failing, not at
Now, if you say this one now, you will see the one they are proper. Okay, I will not talk about that one. But we, the masses, did not exonerate him. We thought that he was getting away with a slap on the wrist because he's KWAM 1. His friends, obviously, with the president and, a lot of people in power because of the class of musician that he is. Now, because of what's now happened with Comforts, where she landed in Kirikiri quickly, and people were immediately able to compare. That's wait. Before you say, do you know who I am? Better know somebody. If not, you will end up in Kirikiri. When we were now doing that comparison, in my opinion, I think that's why Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, stepped into the matter to now pardon everybody, so that it will not be too obvious. Unfortunately for him, somebody that has been sent to Kirikiri using the machine of law, right? It's not a minister that would, offer clemency. It's the courts that will say, oh, they have issued a discontinuance.
No, that's why he communicated with the Attorney General. States.
But he, like I mentioned, he put a disclaimer in that his clemency that anybody from now, if you come and obstruct air flight or do anything that both KWAM 1 and KWAM 2 did, it's the full wrath of the law. Now, I would say that Comfort herself was wrong in terms of the assault. At least I saw her slap 2 or 3 different people, and right?
Subordination off your phone.
So yes, my auntie and I kept on arguing about this flight mode thing. She said she put her phone on flight mode, and there's some airlines that have flown airpiece where everybody was on flight mode. Yeah. They were very forced to put off her phone. It's Jumoke who doesn't like to fly that was begging people around her to please switch off their phone. So she believes that I put my phone on flight mode. Why do you have to force me? And her own video, she showed where she was saying, I want to leave, and did not let her leave. Where I faulted Ibom Air. So you are trying to detain her, right?
As false imprisonment.
So you held her back onto the plane. You allowed everyone else disembark. Is it not that plane that you were now trying to force her out of? Could you not have allowed her to come down?
Then you do whatever it is.
Exactly. That female air hostess that has been proven beyond reasonable doubt now that she's very troublesome, pulled up her dress purposely because she's there struggling with them. So her hands were busy. You pulled up her dress and naked her. So she had to now release her hand to cover up her nakedness. They knew what they were doing. You could have allowed her to disembark. They said, oh, they didn't want her to run away. Will she abandon her bags? Run to where? On the tarmac? Will she go and enter another plane to run away? Do you understand what? They didn't need to force her off the plane. They held her back and then came to carry her out. You should have allowed her just disembark and then arrested her off the tarmac. That way, nobody would have, this nonsense would not have happened. But so, my conclusion on the matter is, all sides were guilty. But you don't bring a sledgehammer to kill an ant. That's what Ibom Air did. And some of us are boycotting them because the last time I flew them was the only time I ever flew them, the only time I will ever fly them.
But
my bag was boggled.
Really?
Nothing was stolen, but the padlock I put on the back was broken. Nobody that I reported to had any answer for me. So I just don't like them. And because I've seen 2 cases about them alone this year. The first one in January about somebody who was saying, oh, all my bags are not aboard. Their planes are usually small.
Small, yeah.
So if your bag is more than like 8 kg, they can't you can't carry it as hand luggage. So this lady was complaining, and because of that, she said, oh, you are not going to fly. They disembarked everybody. Because of that, they couldn't. They need training in de-escalating conflict resolution. You are in the business of hospitality. Your customer is always right. So whatever misdemeanor, you have to learn how to manage them. Madam, your bag is already aboard. You cannot enter. It's a small. But when you have this particular air hostess, well, she's very rude. They call her a possum. She's their senior.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh. So they need. I think that one ought to really go.
When you speak to someone, you will off his phone.
Even the Bible says that
turns away
wrath. But when you come and say, oh, because you're looking at their age
and seeing how the level.
Finally, on a woman's point of view, if you look at all of them, God forgive me, it's not me to be. I didn't create any human being. They saw fine girl. And they were just intimidated.
It's not her fault now that she's a fine girl. After all, is it Paris Hilton? One of the youngest. You knew about the youngest billionaires in the world. It's not her fault.
So they saw fine girl. I just wanted to roughen her up a little.
So bad. I think we've all learned our lessons, and I'd love to speak to the issue of reputation management on both the side of Ibom Air and equally Fan/Keyamo. for that of the federal government versus Keyamo and Fan, I think it's more of giving honor to whom honor is not due. Because I do not understand why, in capital letters, brand ambassadorial portfolio would be given to people who are nuisance to the society. Their nuisance value is like this high, right? They can't tell me they don't see or they don't have a statistics of very good pilots over the years to say, okay, this pilot is a good one, let's give him this. Or this cabin crew member is good, let her be the ambassador for whatever it is. They didn't do all of that. They now chose of all persons, KWAM 1 to give ambassador for something. For that of KWAM 2, they're equally sticking to give her something. Ambassador on protocol of peace or whatever it is.
She's already getting more and more.
To Governor Sharif Oborowori is giving her 500,000 a month job.
For what?
That was
every month.
What about the other man abroad? What about the other man abroad that is promising high?
Yes, Qatar and Turkey and whatever it is.
And there's one boutique, Crown Flex, that is saying that for the next 6 months she'll be modeling their clothes because she has fine.
So to be honest, you understand?
Yeah.
You know, to be honest, I feel so bad for Big Brother Nigeria right now because those people in Gombe should be coming out now to watch the new Big Brother. Because what's happening in Nigeria?
When they started this year, they didn't have views this year. So they had to conspire that one of the girls just open her breast.
I shall be opening it.
For that boy.
To be talking.
And then the moment that happened, they got followers. The next day, they were up there.
Yeah.
But other circumstances have taken over.
Big Brother now outside of the house.
So it's unfortunate for them.
Anyway, well, the conversation continues. And when we return, Juror Evans Ofeli will present his case titled The Harvest of Anger in Nigeria right after this break. Don't go anywhere.
From the ashes of its own dissolution, crying out for a redemption that dances just beyond reach. Next, emerges Evans Ofeli, a sage, with a heart that beats in harmony with the rhythm of justice, an advocate driven by a fervent dream of egalitarian dawn. Each week, he unfolds a scroll of cases bestowed upon him by the wise rabbi, a craft woven with threads of profound thought and searing urgency. His lamentation for the plight of the people rises like a haunting melody, reverberating through a land where self-inflicted wounds twist the tendrils of allegiance into knots of a servitude, traded for nothing more than a pittance, a morsel of bread amidst the hunger of the soul. Then strides forth Emeka Madunago, a linguistic maestro, armed with knowledge as dense as the forest, each word a carefully sharpened arrow aimed at the heart of injustice. He ventures onto this hallowed platform armed with solutions, a veritable panacea for the ail of his compatriots. Emeka unyielding locks eyes with the elite, unflinching in his resolve as he speaks truth to power with the fervor of a modern-day prophet. He advocates for a class suicide, a radical act of severance from the vines of greed that choke the very life of Nigeria.
Thank you for staying with us. My case, the harvest of anger in Nigeria. In recent times, Nigeria has witnessed an alarming surge in public display of anger amongst its citizens, whether at the airport, in the bustling market, on congested roads, or even within the confines of hotels. The frustration and discontent among the populace are palpable. This widespread irritability is not merely anecdotal. It reflects the deeper malaise affecting the psyche of a nation already grappling with numerous challenges. The roots of this anger are complex and multifaceted. Economic hardship, political instability, and societal inequalities have conspired to create a volatile environment where patience and tolerance seem to be in short supply. Many Nigerians have found themselves in a struggle for survival, grappling with rising cost of living, unemployment, and a perceived lack of accountability from those in power. A persistent feeling of being ignored or marginalized only exacerbates this frustration, giving rise to an atmosphere charged with tension. Public conduct is a mirror reflecting these societal issues. The once familiar Nigerian hospitality has been clouded by incidents of road rage, aggressive dispute over trivial matters, and an overall atmosphere of hostility. In markets where bargaining used to be an enjoyable experience, interactions have become fraught with impatience and anger. Instead of camaraderie, one can sense an underlying current of frustration simmering just beneath the surface. However, while anger is often viewed negatively, it can also serve as a catalyst for meaningful change. The collective anger of the Nigerian populace can be harnessed to ignite conversations about the pressing issue facing the nation. It can fuel activism, push for accountability, and demand transparency from leaders. But this requires a shift in perspective. Angry energy should transform into a collective demand for justice, equity, and representation rather than an outlet for chaos and division. To stem the tide of public discontent, a national dialogue is essential. Citizens must come together to discuss their grievances, share their experiences, and seek solutions collectively. Civil society, community leaders, and even government officials need to participate in this discussion to restore trust and faith in the system that appears to have failed the people. My verdict: while the harvest of anger seems across Nigeria today is troubling, it also represents a pivotal moment for reflection and action. The path forward lies not in succumbing to anger, but in harnessing it for constructive dialogue and transformative change. A united front against injustice and demand for better governance could indeed turn the tide, fostering a nation that values patience, understanding, and peace. I shall go to Rabbi again.
Well, interestingly, it's everywhere. Anger. People just take off at the slightest provocation. And I wonder what is going on. Sadly enough, it even, like the Chinese say that the fish gets rotten from the head. You have petulant presidential aides who are always ready to stoke trouble. We were talking of KWAM and Miss Comfort Bob. We were talking about, the ill treatment and all of that. That already settled when Daniel Bwala jumped out and started attacking Peter Obi that he will not be candidate of this and this, of any of the presidential candidates. And I asked, does this guy have some atom of maturity? Or can he read the room? Does he know that there are certain times when you should just avoid certain things? Because we are coming out from a conflict situation. The efforts were being made by the same federal government, which you remember, to de-escalate. You are now stoking another conflict. Why is it that some of these people, is it that some of these people were picked? No, even if you were picked, then that means you were picked from the slum. You were picked for your nuisance value.
Yes.
Not for, and then.
But that's the reason.
Yes, now.
Then why do we, how do we now help them to elevate their thinking? Because if you are look at Renaud Mokri, who has made himself a mockery. Now today, who is listening to him? Look at the other day, this girl from the north who was said to have won a competition. Yeah. Renaud Mokri came up and said that he's investigating, that he heard that things didn't go that way. He's investigating. Up till now, he has not brought an investigation. I lambasted one of my friends. I said,
wait.
Yes.
What did he say?
He said that that after his investigation, that the girl actually won a segment of the competition, not.
I think the girl should sue him because why do you now? Yes.
Who is he? What does he do? Who hired him? Which government does he represent? But then again, right? This just shows that once the head is rotten, like you mentioned,
that is it.
The entire body is rotten. Nigerians must agree what we want in the polity, because we are people of different nations, united as one republic. Unless and until we agree, we will continue to put the worst of us into office, because we are busy arguing about the best one did not read accounting, he read law. The worst will get into office and then be known only for politicking rather than governance. Because 2 years now, come and tell me which policy, and his supporters will say he removed the fuel subsidy, remove forex subsidy, that only those two, his predecessors did not have the wherewithal or the courage to do it. Now that he has done it, that we will see that Nigeria will start to grow. We are still waiting. Me, I said, hopefully, for all of us, because it involves all of us, hopefully Nigeria will grow.
They even jumped into Argentina that the pains, it took the man in Argentina 9 months to,
their own has taken 2 years.
No, that their own is easier. You see, people.
But Argentina,
for me, within the case, so that I don't.
They're still suffering, though.
Are we not sinking?
It's worse than us.
Nigeria is being compared today with Pakistan. That Pakistan have the lowest wage market in the world, followed by Nigeria.
Oh God!
That when you are paid the least money in the world.
Look, Nigeria is number one in many things. One in open defecation. Number one, we know carry last.
I'm talking to you now.
So, out of two children, number two. Poverty.
Yes. Poverty capital of the world. So why do you say Argentina is suffering? Argentina is not in all these things.
When you are comparing the worst countries, Nigeria is always number one from behind. When you are comparing I listened to a pastor today who said, out of the top 10 richest pastors in the world, there are 5 Nigerian pastors.
There are more than 5.
Top 10 in the world. 5 are Nigerians. When I did the research in 2017, 4 or was it 6? I don't remember. At least the average was around between 4 and 6 pastors. Nigerian pastors were on the list of top 10 richest pastors. But when you look at the top 10 churches in the world, Nigeria is not on any.
So it's about
individualism, where you create the church and then enrich yourself. The Catholic Church is the number one. It's the richest. Which one is number one?
Church of Jesus Christ.
It's the Mormons.
They are the richest.
Latter-day Saints. Yes. But the Catholic Pope does not ride on private jets.
The last one $100. You know?
So when we do not have a country headed somewhere where all of us as citizens agree that this is what we are gearing towards, this is our
value system. Yes,
values. But look, because we are a country of different nations, the value systems are different. Different religions, value system is different, right? That's why I keep on saying, unless and until we agree. If we stay divided in ethnicity and religion, and we put our divisions in the forefront rather than what unites us as Nigerians, because when we're outside the country, we don't see tribe. I mean, Nigerian, we will hurt ourselves, right? Unless and until we do that back at home and agree that this is what we want in our policy, our polity, the kind of leaders we want. It is education we want to put ahead. And so when you are telling us about your manifesto, you are not telling, oh, we will patch road, we will build road, the things that other countries have forgotten.
And here's the parallel.
When we agree, Evans, then we will put the right politicians in power. And people like Mokri, Rhino, Dwala.
Put them in prison. So you see, the parallel is this. While I talk about the anger, I'm actually specific to the demographic, even though I didn't state it expressly. You see this boiling anger in the country. It is the masses that actually bear that anger. Yeah, because if you meet rich people, you see the rich people relate to themselves.
Yeah, okay.
Rich people, when they meet themselves, they talk about the
investment.
Globe. They talk about the globe.
Travels,
investments,
bags.
Where you have the latest investment opportunity in the world, where they are going for vacation, the Bahamas. And you just hear them, and when a 1-year-old of a rich man, when they are celebrating the birthday, you see Dangote there. Dangote is not the same age with that baby.
Yep.
But he's there for the networking. He's there for what the rich have to offer.
I saw a child naming. Dangote and these big guys were there. Child naming.
But the poor people, the masses.
Davido's wedding in Miami. They said 23 private jets landed in Miami. The Americans were asking, is there an African leaders conference?
Yes, it's a conference. So when they converge,
it's anger.
They will be shouting, they will be feeding.
Do you know why?
When you go to Kenya on that bridge, when they gather to read newspaper, those ones that cannot afford newspaper.
Free Leaders Association.
You will see how they will be arguing, you will hear their voices on the top of the
They will be defending Rhino.
and all they are doing, you see all those shouts they are shouting, they are protecting their oppressors. If you come there and say that this politician is a thief, is this, 2-3 persons will attack you, if you are not careful, they will beat you up. Because the Nigerian must protect his oppressor, must make sure KWAM was shielded away from attack. KWAM 2 was disgracefully beaten.
And the same ordinary people.
Yes, by the same ordinary people. But these ordinary people, they're looking at KWAM 1, somebody to carry the flags for him. Somebody allowed him to go to beat protocol with the flags of alcohol or water.
Yes, because that's how we got it on the
yes, yeah, but that's KWAM 2. They don't carry flags.
Yeah.
She did not carry flags. Look at how she was beaten. If she had carried flags, what would happen?
They would have dragged down on the floor.
They would have carried flags.
They would have torn her clothes.
So you see, the equation of the Nigerian state is this. Let the poor go and kill the poor. Let the rich remain rich and rule over the poor.
Evans, where will we become sensible?
You see, the sad thing is that we do not have citizens in Nigeria.
Oh God.
We are a nation of 250 ethnic nationalities. But the British made us to look at each other as tribesmen, as tribes. So until we get to that realization, that we're a country of nations. We're a country of nations. A country of nations. Now, we need a consensus to build a country or a nation of Nigerians.
We're 111.
We cannot. No, it doesn't. It's not about the age. It's not about age. Liberia is Liberia not older than us?
Oh,
it's not 1922. Where are we? Where is Liberia today?
111 years old.
No, Liberia is 1922. So what do you call that?
Yes.
It's older.
No, our amalgamation was 1914, so we are 111.
No, that was the amalgamation. The independence, the amalgamation was a business deal.
No, amalgamation was what forced us together.
She's referring to.
It's amalgamation that forced us together.
That's our marriage.
Independence.
That's
By the time we were going independent, right, we were even way more divided. Because that's when civil war now happened.
Very divided.
But if they had left us as our individual 400 nations or more in 1914, the way we are friends with Ghanaians and we banter, Ghana must go, Ghana jollof and Nigeria, don't even tell me about your jollof rice. And we have no problems with Chad, Cameroon or Togo. That's how we would have been dealing as Yoruba and Thieves. We would have no problem. But they amalgamated us across ethnic and religious lines. Instead of carrying people on the south, for instance, so that we have Yorubas in Togo, we have Hausas in northern Ghana. If
it was the French policy of assimilation or association that colonized us, they would have been around 6-7 countries. Yeah, that's why if you look at the Anglophone countries, Francophone countries, you see Togo, you see Ghana, you see Togo, Benin Republic, and all the
very small countries.
Small countries.
They just, spread it.
But English, they wanted a big business.
Yeah, they wanted a big business, and they wanted a sustained colony. A sustained colony that we aid. What do you call it?
Enterprise.
Yes, enterprise. It has a name. That's a name. I can't remember the name now. But that will aid that enterprise that they will keep exploiting, from our economy, our raw materials, and all we have to their space.
All right. So I think I would love to conclude by saying this. There's this animation kids film called Red, and in one of the scenes, Red was a very stubborn bird. And after he passed through lots of training, he was still very angry. And one of the judges told him that anger is the weed growing in our backyards. And what do we do with those weeds? We plug them out, right? Now the question is, how much of that plugging have we done as a people, and equally for the leaders that we look up to? Yesterday I was watching a viral video of an Afghan former military officer who was brought into the United States because he was an interpreter during the Afghan US invasion of the US to Afghan. Now, on getting to the United States, the man was angry. Why was he angry? That the United States deceived him, bringing him to the United States, and he has no work, he has no job. And in the process of that, he now killed a police officer because he had no job. Right? So sometimes the policies of those in power sometimes lead to some of this anger that we have. Because if the policy of bringing an interpreter, giving him free opportunity to come to the United States, which he wasn't even interested in, he wouldn't have killed an innocent police officer who was just walking about his own thing. Right? So sometimes the policies that we bring, especially our leaders, the devaluation of the Naira, the floating of the Naira, the subsidy is gone.
Sparks anger.
It has a way of igniting that anger in the lives of people. When someone can't pay his school fees any longer, young girls are beginning to do hookup now. There are Bado and so many other apps now that are easier for them to get into. So all of those things brew that anger that I think it will take time actually for us to reduce it and possibly quench it.
Very well. And that's where we'll leave it for today on the Middlemen of Jurors. Remember, if we don't speak up, we just be in the background of noise in the symphony of silence. Join the conversation on all our social media handles at Enterprise TV 7. Until we meet next time, stay safe, stay informed, and bye-bye.
Middleman. Middleman.